This video is on forming the aorist. If you want to know what the aorist means, look at the other video for 11 alpha. For this one, you can follow along in Antanazda, chapter 11 alpha, pages 176 to 177. So today we're going to look at how do you form the Greek aorist tense. The first thing you need to know is that you go to the third principal part of the verb in the dictionary entry. So for our sample verb, we'll be using lepo, lepso, elepon. Go to our third principal part. The first thing you notice is there's this weird epsilon in the beginning. This is called the augment, epsilon. It's only present in the indicative mood. For verbs that have a prefix on them, like, let's say, katalepo, the augment goes after the prefix and before the main verb. So you see in that third principal part that it goes after kata and before lipon, and the second alpha of kata has been elided and disappears, so you get katelipon. The next thing that you see is that you have a different stem than the present tense. This is called the aorist stem, and for this verb, the aorist stem is lip. The last thing you see is the endings. There's two sets of endings for the aorist. The first aorist endings, all that means is we've got two and we're calling the first ones first. They're sometimes called the thematic aorist endings, and the other set of endings we are arbitrarily going to call the second aorist endings, and they are sometimes called the thematic aorist endings. Why are they called these things? Well, the first set of endings, you'll notice, has a sigma in all of them, hence the sigmatic endings, and we'll learn those in chapter 11 beta. The set that we're learning today has the theme vowel in it, O-E-E, O-E-O, and those are the ones that we are learning right now in chapter 11 alpha. So let's move on to how do you identify whether the verb that you are interested in is going to use the first aorist endings, the ones with the sigmas, or the second aorist endings, the ones with the theme vowel. To do that, you go to the third principal part. If it ends in an alpha, then we use the first aorist endings. So for example, the sample verb luo, luso, elusa, that sa tells you that you're using the first aorist endings. We don't know how to do that yet. We'll learn it in 11 beta. But if your verb, if the third principal part ends in omicron nu, like lepo, lepso, elepon, those are the sets of endings that we're going to learn today. Every verb follows one of these two patterns. You can't put first aorist endings onto lepo, nor can you put second aorist endings onto luo. You just look at the principal part and see which pattern does this verb follow. So now let's look at the 11 alpha endings for the thematic second aorist. Our sample verb is still lepo, lepso, elepon. And we're going to start with the indicative, which does use the augment. It is the only mood that uses the augment. Then we will add the aorist stem, which is lip. Then we will add the theme vowel and the second aorist endings. For the purposes of memorization, just memorize the theme vowel and the endings together as the ending of that word. So I'm going to write out for indicative all of the augments and all of the aorist stems, and then add in our combined theme vowel plus ending to get on, s, n, omen, eta, on. That's how you should memorize it. Add in our accents, and then move on to the imperative. Now remember, there is no augment in any mood that is not the indicative. So we'll just have lip, and then we add the imperative endings. They're actually the same endings that you already know. So lippe for the singular and lippita for the plural. For the infinitive, also no augment, stem lip, also an ending that you already know. The only difference here is that it has a different accent than the present infinitive. And then last but not least, the participles, again, no augment. we just have the aorist stem plus the same participle endings that you already learned for the present tense. So stem lip plus on, usa, on, to give you lipon, lipusa, lipon. The end.